Entonces, si alguien también necesita ayuda con la traducción o prefiere que yo diga la pregunta, también avísenme. Y pues nada más, comenzamos. Ahora lo voy a decir en inglés, ¿va? So, thank you everybody for being here today. Like most of you already know, whenever you want to ask a question, please put it on the chat and I will, let everyone ask or, as long as we have enough time. And so just let me say that we are happy to have today a Satan's Pilgrim with Garrett, Scott, and Robert. Thank you guys for being here with us today.
Thank you.
So let me see who is there anything that you would like to say before we start with the questions?
Scott? I think we're happy to come back down to play Wildo Fest. A lot has happened since the last time we were there, but we're looking forward to it and looking forward to this questions coming our way.
Thank
Can
you
you
so
hear me
much.
okay?
Robert, you're on mute.
Am I on mute?
No, Robert.
No, Robert is on mute. Okay. No, you're not. You're good now. Robert might be having some audio difficulties.
Oh, okay. All right. If you guys are okay, can we start with
Oh,
the
yeah, of course.
questions? Thank you. So first I have Arnulfo from Síntesis Hidalgo. Hola, Arnulfo. Go ahead.
Hola, muy buenos días, Adri.
Hola.
Hola, hola. Hi, you guys. How
Hi.
you guys doing? So I hope to well. Let me ask him for my first question. What is your opinion about the current reality of the surf garage music scene?
What?
Wow.
That's a big question.
That's a big
Yes,
question.
I think it's alive and strong and still continuing after many years, and it comes back in different forms and different shapes. But we're glad to have survived, different iterations of this genre.
Can you hear me now?
Yes,
Yeah.
sir.
Okay, great.
Hey,
Yeah, it's funny. I was thinking about that question actually last night, and I was thinking, most of the bands, honestly, that are playing this festival are older groups. And so I was kind of curious as to why, we're still around and why we still resonate with people. And I actually think it's because we come from the punk rock generation, right? And I think, and we just recently did a book signing sort of conference interview session with the release of the Estrus book. And so that was another time to reflect on, how things started and where we are now. And that was the consensus, was the people that were at that conference or that, that book signing, and the people that are in that book all came out of that punk rock generation. And I think what's interesting about that is that the prevailing emotion or sentiment was that it was about entertainment, not so much about musicianship. And I mean musicianship not in terms of songwriting, but in terms of performance. I mean, it's not how many notes you can play, it's how entertained the audience is. So if you're trying to draw a distinction between where it is now and where it was then, to me, that's the distinction. Is it's not about being a spectacular player from a technical standpoint. It's about, are you entertaining people? And are you connecting with them emotionally? My frustration sometimes with the surf community now is that people get so caught up in just the guitar player's proficiency and ignore all the other elements, especially the rhythm section, which in the original surf was a key element. And of course, there was saxophone, keyboards, other things that don't really exist now. So that's my only frustration or disappointment now, is that surf music has gotten too one dimensional, I think. And of course, we can be proud of ourselves for having maintained 3 guitars all these years, which gives us much more freedom than other bands to do interesting arrangements. But it's never, for us, it's never about who's the best guitar player. Of course, Dave Busacker, Dave Pilgrim, in my opinion, is the best guitar player I've ever known. But nevertheless, he was always about simplicity and directness and never a wasted note. And we've always carried that aesthetic, throughout whatever we do.
Okay, thank you so much. I have a last question. So the garage surfing is not fashionable topic. It is valid in the soundtracks of TV series and movies. What can you tell us about the film Bang Bang, where they include some songs by the band? So I hear you guys.
Scott, you want to take that one, or Garrett?
Scott, why don't you do it, because you're probably more familiar with it than I am.
I'm sorry, what series are we talking about?
Bang Bang, Bang Bang. The macro century is Bang Bang Bang.
I'm not actually familiar, to tell you the truth. So,
It's supposedly it's included some music about the band. So it's
Okay.
the macro century series.
Oh,
series.
is this the boxing movie?
Right, right.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, so they have a song from Sexploitation on there. I want to say
Right.
Dilation, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, Scott, do you want to talk about that whole album a little bit and why it sort
Yeah.
of fits the mood of that movie?
Well, actually, I have not. I have to be honest. I have not seen the film, so I can't speak to how it translates into film. But the recording itself was one. Yeah, like Robert said, it was part of the Sexploitation record and kind of our foray into a little bit of instrumental psych. And that's like the one of the lead tracks off that record. So yeah, it was recorded with our friend Eric Hedford here in Portland, who is an old friend of ours, and
He was the Dandy Warhol's drummer.
yeah,
Mhm.
and it kind of gave us a little opportunity to kind of explore a little side of instrumental music that we had not really touched on, and yeah, so
It was a concept album that I think Teddy came up with, and it was meant to be what happened after 1964 or 5, when the surf scene ended, and some of those guys that were no longer teenagers were now becoming session musicians and just playing around in the studio with all sorts of different effects. And they were putting out these instrumental records that weren't strictly surf, they weren't garage. And so it was more like 1967, pre Woodstock psychedelia, and that was Teddy's concept. And it the songwriting is pretty spectacular. And I think the movie is meant to take place in maybe the early 70s. There's organ in the song, so that also kind of gives it kind of a moody feel, and maybe takes it beyond the just the typical surf music that you would hear from us. But it still has, like, I think people would say that all of our music is a little bit moody, but also a little bit gritty too. There's an edge to it, and that kind of, like I say, kind of goes back to that punk rock aesthetic. And so I think that's why it sort of works for the theme of a boxer in Detroit. It's a very rough time in our country's history. And obviously Detroit has had its share of hard times. So I think there's just a little bit of that in everything that we do, a little bit of, just a little bit of darkness. Even though I think in general that album is very positive, but I think people always identify our sound as being distinctive in that way. That it's just a little bit, there's just a little bit of moodiness and darkness to it.
Okay, gentlemen, thank you so much. Appreciate your question. I mean your answers. So I hope you soon in Wild Fest, Mexico,
Huh?
next month. Maybe
Yeah.
not next month, next more
Yeah.
days. So
Yeah.
with good vibes and surfing vibes. See you
That's right.
soon. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you. Thank you.
Gracias, Arnulfo. Thank you, guys.
Gracias.
Now I have, I will say this question is from Adolfo from Huicayotl Semanauk. He says, how do you guys feel to play again in the Wild O Fest?
I think that we are thrilled to be playing. I think the first one that we played, I don't know if it was like 6 years ago, 7 years ago, but it was one of the highlights, I think, for us. And, just playing that venue, playing with all the great bands that we were able to play with at that point, which includes the Sonics that we're going to be playing with again. I think we're ecstatic to come down. Garrett will be doing double duty, if you didn't know. So I hope you.
I know, we know.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
a lot. Like I said, I think I made mention earlier. Yeah, because with the passing of Dave Busack or Dave Pilgrim, it's a new chapter for us, and we're just so thankful to Garrett to kind of step in and kind of keep us going. This is like over 30 years and of playing music, but we're all great friends. We're looking forward to Wilder Fest, and yeah,
We love Mexico City. It was a really magical experience last time. Yeah, it was we were really super sad that we couldn't come down to play with Lost Acapulco that was one thing that we lost during COVID. So the opportunity to come down so soon after COVID is something that we're very grateful for, to have that opportunity again.
Thank you, guys. Now I have a question from Antonio from El Parlante. Antonio, can you hear me?
Yes, Adri, thank you very much. Hi, guys. How are you?
Hi.
First, I'm going to say the question in Spanish for the journalist and then in English for you, okay?
Thank you.
First of all, en el panorama en constante evolución de la industria musical, ¿cómo han hecho el mantener su independencia como banda? ¿Les ha permitido mantenerse fieles a su sonido único y visión artística? ¿Qué desafíos han enfrentado al navegar por la industria sin el respaldo de un sello discográfico importante? In the ever-evolving landscape of the music industry, how has maintaining your independence as a band empowered you to stay true to your unique sound and artistic vision? And what challenges have you faced in navigating the industry without the backing of a major label?
Can I throw something in on that?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, Steve has more experience with major labels than we have.
I think the kind of music that we play is outsider music. I don't think it's ever been mainstream, and it's never really garnered the attention of the industry at large. Certainly, there were independent labels that handled surf and garage, but to be honest, the tools are all there for people to put their music out by themselves at this point. So the challenge of getting it released seems actually that hurdle is not as steep as it once was. Obviously, the flip side of the coin is you are not making the money from record sales that you once made. But again, when you're handling it all yourself, that's all under your purview. when my other band was on a major label, we never saw any money from it. So it really didn't matter, you know. And I feel like because the music that we play is, I call it outsider music because I think of punk rock as outsider music and rockabilly as outsider music. It's outside the mainstream. Um, I think it's always been a do-it-yourself.
We've been involved, I think, with 4 different labels, but we've also put out our own records too. So whatever we can do to kind of keep this thing going. We haven't really relied on record sales. Just it's more like, just kind of getting the music out there, word of mouth. In the early days, it was touring to kind of help support the records. We've seen, the change with digital music, and we've kind of, we still love to put out records, actual vinyl records, and we're still continuing to do that up until this day. And yeah, so we always hope for more exposure. I think the other thing too that we'll talk about a little bit too is we had a record come out with Thomas Lauderdale from Pink Martini, and that distribution for that record is probably bigger than some of the other records we have put out as well. So I think as long as we kind of keep going, hopefully it'll get to the right people.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I mean, as far as like how we've maintained or whatever, our independence, I think we feel pretty comfortable with what we've achieved and where we're at. And it's because we keep writing songs. We have, I think, probably over 150 songs now that are available to people, and probably only 10 or 12 of those are covers. The rest are originals. So that certainly helps. Then the other thing too is that we're able, with the technology that's available now, to do our own recording. And so that's massive. Even back in the punk rock days, you still typically would have to book time in a studio, and that cost money. And so I think the pressure that a lot of young bands feel is that they feel they need to sign a contract so that someone else can pay, theoretically pay for that. Of course, it's coming out of the band's pocket regardless. But
Yeah,
I think early on, people in our community here in Portland especially started building their own studios, even when they were on major labels, so they could have the artistic freedom and control over what they were putting out. And so that's part of it too, is Portland in its own way is very independent and always has been in terms of artistic freedom and control. And so that certainly has supported us over the years.
Yeah, we appreciate the immediacy of social platforms that kind of help distribute the records so people access it wherever they're at. The Spotify's, you're not getting money from really making money from Spotify, that, so as everybody knows, but it's a way for people to kind of access things, and hopefully that drives them to actually picking up a record and, spending a little money with the band too.
In the end, I think we're pretty happy actually having our songs end up on soundtracks, and also being able to watch people on YouTube, whether it's Mexico or in Eastern Europe, cover our songs on YouTube is pretty gratifying too. That's something that money can't buy. So ironically, YouTube played a big role in us being able to find a audience amongst young people actually too, particularly in Mexico, I think. So when we were able to do the last Wilder Fest and to be supported by a new generation of people, I think it's largely because of YouTube. So I can't be mad at that.
Yeah.
I was going to say, what you touched on, Robert's really cool because it kind of circles back to that. What's the state of the surf and garage scene? I think there seem to be more people getting interested in it right now than I can remember in a long time. And I think you're right. It's through Instagram and YouTube. That's where they're getting their initial exposure to it.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've had it's been fun to watch bands like cover, even bands from Mexico, covering Satan's Pilgrims and seeing kind of like the inspiration that we were inspired by the bands, from the 60s or whatever. So it's great to see that as well, or even, go as deep as guitar lessons for songs that we've recorded. And yeah.
Seeing people posting transcriptions of our songs. So this is how you play this song is kind of mind blowing too, for sure.
Robert, can you send me those websites, please?
Still learning.
Yeah. Yeah, I actually did kind of go on one the other day to learn a part. I'll tell you about it when you're in town. I'll show you the part that I learned from one of those YouTubers. Yeah, for sure.
That's awesome.
Yeah, on Chichi. I finally figured that part.
Okay, guys. Finally, I have a question to Garrett. Garrett, what difference does it make to play in the Ghastly Ones and in Satan's Pilgrims now that they are going to play at the same festival? Garrett, ¿qué diferenciador existe entre tocar en los Ghastly Ones y en Satan's Pilgrims ahora que van a tocar en el mismo festival?
Well, it's interesting because I had been inactive in music for a number of years, and Satan's Pilgrims is the band that brought me back into playing music. And I feel, frankly, it's a family that welcomed me, and I feel an incredibly close bond to everybody in the band. And it's musically challenging, and I'm super proud to be involved. I mean, they're my favorite band, so that's kind of the circumstances that led to my being there notwithstanding, which are tragic, and I would have loved for them to be unavoidable. I'm so glad to be involved. The Ghastly Ones is a bit of a homecoming, and it's super fun to be with those guys who've also been very close friends for years. It's the interaction within the band is different, and I don't quite know why, but I know it's going to be really fun to play in both. I think with the Pilgrims, I'm always working on being very focused and really trying to honor the music that they've made for 30 years and try to play it to the best of my ability. I don't know if I'm really addressing the question, but it's a commitment with Satan's Pilgrims that I take very seriously, and I kind of feel, should fortune work out in my favor, it's a lifetime commitment. I'm very happy to be there.
Okay, Garrett. Okay, guys, thank you very much. I hope you see you in the Wildo Fest in August. Thank you very much. Gracias, Adri. Saludos a todos.
Thank you. And I just want to point out that Ted Miller has joined us. I don't know if you caught that.
Yeah. Can you say hi, Ted?
Oh, you're on mute.
I don't know if he's talking to me.
No, Ted, se unió Ted.
Okay.
Hello, everyone. Sorry, I was on mute. And I was
Welcome.
Thank you. I was very late. Trying to move at the same time, but very excited to return to Wildfest in Mexico City.
Thank you. So now I will move on with another question. This one is from Cesar. He is from Proceso Magazine. He says, it's been said that there is a crisis in the genre, like in the surf music. What does it mean for you guys to be in a festival like the Wildo with more bands and leave a new seat for future bands within surf music?
Ted,
Me?
pass to you. Yes.
There's a crisis. Is that what you're saying? There's a crisis?
Is it?
That's what he
Crisis.
said, that it's been
Okay.
said that
It's
there
been
is a
said.
crisis.
Okay.
Well, first of all, like most of our 30 years, we're sort of blissfully unaware of any crisis.
Yeah.
We're
We created
unaware of
our
what.
own world
Yes, we're in our own
separate from all of
own
that.
world. We're unaware when things are really good, and we're unaware when things are really bad. But but we just keep going. But if we can help in any way, we're more than ready to lend a hand in
I think
averting
Yeah.
a crisis. But
We have
and
plenty of opinions. I'm not sure we're going to share them here, but we have plenty of suggestions. I may have offered some already, but early on, Teddy, I was saying that people are so caught up in the guitar now that they've ignored the rest of what made surf music in its, infancy so vital. And I think if there's a path that people are mistakenly taking, it's that they're so focused on the guitar player. I mean, it's kind of what ruined rock and roll in the '70s, frankly. So if that's the path they're going down, then that's, to me. I mean, I'm more excited about like Campo Toseta and La Lom, the cumbia and the chicha, which is so much where the rhythm is such a huge part of it. And I think that the young people that are exposed to surf music now, they're not quite getting that rhythm part. So
yeah, but I think if we're talking about bands from Mexico, I think
yeah,
Strings of Flame and have great drummers and rhythm section and creative songwriting. I think there are always new bands out there that are keeping things going in the right direction. And then, of course, there are some that in what we think is the right direction. And, everybody should do whatever they feel like
yeah,
they want to
yeah,
do. But
yeah.
but
I think it's fair to say that we don't necessarily consider ourselves to be a surf band, too. To be honest,
Yeah.
is
well,
that
yeah.
going too far?
Yeah, well, but then again, we do. There's the people who have really strict definitions and
Yeah,
rules about what that is, and then
yeah,
so we don't necessarily fit into that. But
yeah,
in a more general sense, sure, that's a big part of what we come from. I always joke in the when we first appeared in the early '90s. The trad surf people didn't like us. We were the newfangled new band, and we didn't do this right, and we didn't do that right. We weren't the true surf band, and we
we
used
weren't playing covers
yeah, and or we
or the right covers.
we used fuzz, and we had some uh
Organ.
post CBS amplifiers, and
Yeah,
the
yeah,
equipment wasn't just exactly right or whatever. And but after 30 years now, everybody considers us a trad surf band.
yeah,
So you know we can,
yeah.
we just
And
don't
I'll,
worry about that. Just don't
Can't
worry about
please
that stuff.
everybody.
I'll say it's
Yeah.
rock and roll's job to challenge the previous convention. So if there's a band now that's not doing it the way a band was doing it 30 years ago, that's their prerogative, and it's almost the point.
Yeah.
Music is always evolving, and you can't operate in a vacuum and have only influences from 1940 to 1965 in your music. It's part of the development. So I think I've seen a lot of new bands that really impress me, and they're not doing the tropes
Right.
that even from 30 years ago, and more power to them. Keep going.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for your answer. Hopefully that will be good for Caesar. Now I move on with Chema from Rock Activist. Chema, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Good. Go ahead, Chema.
Hello, guys. How are you today?
Hey,
Hello.
good, thank you.
Good.
I have a big question for you. I want you to tell me, how did this movie Satan Sadist came to you back in your days, and about the wildest stories of your house parties when you host them.
Yeah. Well, Ted, if you want to take this one, but I think that we were just, I think we had a great movie place we go rent movies, Movie Madness up here in Portland, Oregon, and they had a very deep psychotronic section. So all those biker films like Satan's Sadist and Satan's Cheerleaders, all those films, we would go rent and bring them back to our house. And I think that and of course, Davy Allen and the Arrows and stuff like that. So I think getting back to like, we're not just surf, we also like the biker stuff too. And I think that our name we always say that it kind of came from some of that inspiration. So yeah, I think that answers your question, or at least part of it.
Yeah. And about the house parties, what are the wildest stories you got about them?
The house parties, the thing that we always talk about in interviews too is that we all played in different bands. We all lived in the same house, and Dave had all the great records, and we kind of started playing all together, playing some surf covers and stuff like that. And we just really kind of started off in the House of Rock and playing parties. And those parties were fun. And yeah, we had a good time.
The classic story was the party, when the party got too big. Yeah. And it was there was a bunch of snow outside, and we knew most everybody there, but a bunch of people showed up that we didn't know, and we took a break from playing, and one of our friends saw somebody running out the door with the bass, the Fender Precision bass.
It was actually it was the Silvertone, which
was it the Silvertone?
Okay, the one that John plays today. So
yeah. So luckily, our friends saw it. We were at the back of the house where we had been playing. Our friends saw this guy walking out or running out with the bass, and luckily a group of them took off running after this guy and tackled him in the street in the snow, and
a foot of snow.
got the bass back, and I don't know if they roughed him or what. I only heard about it after they came running back with the bass. Like, we got your bass back. Yeah, the guy. Like so.
Yeah, that was when we decided that we couldn't have house parties anymore, or didn't want to play parties anymore. Before that, we didn't want to play clubs, and so we would only play house parties. We didn't want to, be just another band playing clubs. But that changed when even with this foot of snow on the ground, 200 people showed up to our house and pretty much destroyed it. So
I think we told them that we had a keg of beer. So, I think, a keg of beer.
We went back to clubs.
Yeah. So, but
I remember John Moen, the drummer, sliding down our stairs on his belly. That was one highlight of that party.
I think they found a big cardboard box, and he and Jim, like 3 or 4 people would get in this box and were riding down the stairs.
And down.
It was not safe.
Yeah.
Kind of moving to different houses and such too. We had house parties, and we played. We were able to kind of host the Space Cossacks one time. They played a party at our house, and because they didn't have a show in town, so that was a lot of fun as well. You can't beat the house party as long as no one steals your bass or guitar.
Yeah, for sure. And throwing these memories from 30 years ago, how does it make you feel after all this time, and having to rock a stage like here in Mexico City twice? I mean, what's the difference now from host parties and clubs, and now a big stage here in Mexico.
It's fantastic. We're so happy to be invited back. The first time we played Wildfest in 2015, after that show, everybody kept saying, when can we go back? That was the best. That was the best. And it was the most fun. We loved the city. We loved the people, the crowd, the audience, the people. We know a lot of the people, the enthusiasm, the energy. It's awesome. It's great. So even though we're much older, it definitely helps us find the energy to play as hard and
Stay
as
young.
much hard as we can. So
the energy, that's the thing, is the energy that we get from the crowd in Mexico City is super inspirational. So I don't worry about being too old as long as we're getting that energy from the people.
We're humbled to be back, and we super appreciate this, and we do not take it lightly that we're being asked to come back. So
yeah.
Okay. Well, guys, thanks a lot for sharing all of this. Hope to see you back in Mexico.
Thank you.
All right.
thank you.
Thank you. Thanks.
Gracias, Chema. Thank you, Chema. Thank you, guys. Now I have a question from Odette from Random Verso. Odette, ¿me escuchas? Can you hear me? Odette, are you there? Okay. I don't know what's going on with her microphone, but we move on with
Hola.
Andrea. Odette.
Ah.
Yay!
Hey,
Sorry.
Odette. Go ahead.
Hi, how are you?
Hey.
Good. Nice to meet you.
Good. How are you?
Thank you. I'm glad for talking to you. Well, I want to know how do you feel your music has resonated with the new generation in the niche for surf rock scene? Especially, what legacy do you hope to leave behind in this genre?
Who wants to start?
I think I think that we've created a legacy. I think 30 years and many, many records and just kind of perseverance has hopefully inspired the next generation of people who will be playing this music. And we're, I think we're on the second wave, right? Or are we third wave? I don't know. But I think it continues. And it's really, I think at a point in time, it kind of, even while in our duration as a band, it kind of had dipped off and lack of interest. But to see it kind of come back and kind of continue and have these festivals and the SG 101 community and all that is just really, it's very cool. And yeah, but hopefully, we're inspiring people to kind of just get together with your friends and go rock out. I think that what Robert talked about earlier is like, we're not a guitar virtuoso band. We just like to have really write songs and play songs and perform them that kind of captured energy. And
yeah.
So
well, I was gonna say that our legacy should be songwriting. I think, as I said, that we have like 150 songs that we've recorded and put in circulation, and only a dozen of those are covers. The rest are originals. There's more than one songwriter in our group. Teddy's written some amazing songs lately. Scott obviously is a great songwriter, and then Dave contributed a ton. We're looking forward to writing more songs. And so in the end, I think that should be our legacy, and whatever inspiration we can give to a new generation is that write songs, write your own material, and find your own sound and your own voice, because I think the best compliment we get from whoever we talk to is that you can hear one of our songs in whatever format and recognize that it's us right away.
Also,
we have our own vibe.
Yeah, I think also too, we like to have a look. We created a look and feel, right? So capes, whatever, white pants. We got inspiration from other people, and I think it's great to look at a band that has a kind of a look and feel. So just not t-shirts and jeans and stuff like that, which we all wear, but up on stage, we want a persona, and hopefully that kind of helps,
Well,
inspire.
but I think that it's no look. I just think that it's your passion. And I ask this question because I'm curious to know if when they started the band, they thought of inspiring other people to make this music.
When we started, did we were thinking about that?
Yes,
Is that the question?
yes.
Yeah, honestly, when we started, it was when grunge was really becoming the overwhelmingly popular music in our area and also on the radio and in MTV. And honestly, we were looking for something other than that. We were looking, honestly, it felt very kind of heavy and kind of oppressive in a way. And we just wanted to bring the joy back to playing and playing with people, in front of people, and inspiring them to dance, not just boys and men dancing in front of the stage, but women and girls having interaction between both sexes in a positive way. That's what we were concerned about more than anything else, was just bringing joy back to our playing, because we were a little bit older even when we started Satan's Pilgrims. We were in our late 20s. We were kind of past the point of being just punk rockers anymore. We wanted to have fun, and we wanted people to dance, and I hope that was inspirational, and I hope it still is an important thing for people.
But I don't think we ever imagined that we'd have a legacy when we started.
No.
Or anything like that, or that we would
Yeah.
have reached that. And then I just want to add, we're also really proud that really early on, when we started, that bands like Lost Acapulco covered Vampiro on some of their first, one of their first recordings, and that we were able to, even though we hadn't come to Mexico way back then, that our music was reaching people there, even through Lost Acapulco, and even people today some people think that is their song, and that's totally fine, because either way, it's just great to feel and
A
that
connection.
a connection,
Sure.
and that we have so many fans there, and that, like you talked about or someone talked about planting the seed, and like I feel like that seed was planted way back then in the early 90s, for us, that there are people who see that we that found out about us back then through Lost Acapulco, or that they found out about us through the surf music scene in the 90s, and so that's really, we love that. It's really cool.
Yes. Well, guys, thank you for your answer, and I hope the life gives you many successfuls.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Gracias, Odette. Thank you, Odette.
Thanks, Adri.
Now I move on with Andrea from No Somos Ñoños. Andrea,
Yes, thank you, Adri.
you're welcome.
Okay, so first of all, guys, I would like to thank you because I'm a big fan. I really love like all the years that you've been doing this. You can notice it. But the question for me is like, I can notice that it's like this real vibe. Like it's very unique. It's very, you can feel it. And I think that's very important when you like, when your shows and everything. But I would like to ask you something like, how have you managed to maintain the balance like between the band and the personalities over all these years? Like, it's very interesting for me because we've seen a lot of bands that actually feel like in that part and they don't find the balance on the personalities. So how is for you guys? I'm very interested.
Can I throw something in there because I'm late to the party, so I have an outsider's perspective. I had an outsider's perspective for 20 something years. I've never seen a band where the guys were more closely knit, and when you see Satan's Pilgrims, what you're seeing is five extremely close friends. I mean, brothers, really. They're there for each other in and out of music, just on a day-to-day basis. Everybody's connected. I see guys that are extremely close friends, and the band kind of almost arose out of that versus musicians finding each other, playing together, and then the friendship developing. Correct me if I'm wrong, but that's always been my perception.
You got it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. We
Yeah.
started as friends first and band second, and there's always challenges with being a band and doing things in life and everything that happens. Even like Ted moved to Memphis many years ago. He's just coming back a couple days ago. But I think first and foremost, we're there for each other as friends, and then the music is just bonus, but we keep each other inspired. It's not just one person's responsibility. It's kind of a shared responsibility, kind of keep this thing going. If it's songwriting or doing these interviews or whatever, it's just this community that we have, and our families are very tight.
Yeah, we're for sure family. And I think how you learn how to be a band and a family is touring. So certainly back in the day, that's how you test that, and you learn about each other pretty quickly when you spend 24 hours a day together for several weeks. So we survived that. And I think the fact that everyone can contribute, everyone's free to contribute musically is a big part of it too. We all have song contributions. We all get songwriting credits. So that's a big distinction too from the very start. And for myself, I feel like my bandmates are my favorite musicians. They're my heroes. So that helps too.
That's beautiful.
I think the other thing I'd add is, we toured a lot and really tried to make the band happen in the 90s. But since 2000, some of us have had, had kids and families and different careers, and it's been up and down when with jobs or careers. Like, right now I can't do the band so much right now. Now I'm more free, and at all times it's always just figuring out how much we can do with the band based on what's going on in everybody's life. And since about 2000, we've just been like relaxed about it. Like, we'll just whatever everybody can do, this is what we'll do. And we've been super lucky. I mean, we're super fortunate that not being a full-time band since then, we're not touring all over the world all the time. We all have our home life, and then we get together and do what we can, and that we still are able to keep to be able to play on festivals and shows with bands that do it full time, to be included in that group. So we're really fortunate and really grateful that people still listen to us and keep us in that up on that level, even though we're not out there doing it full time. So we appreciate that. But it helps us if you're doing your 250th show of the year, then your patience and your temper might be stretched a little more than if you do, 4 or 5 really cool shows a year.
Yep.
So that's how we
Okay,
figured out
guys.
how to do it.
Less is more.
That's perfect. Yes, I say that, yeah. But I'm very glad. Congratulations for all these years, and we hope to see you more often here in Mexico because we really miss you.
All right.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay,
we
come
hope
back
so
more.
too.
Thank you. Thank you, Adri.
Gracias,
Gracias.
Andrea. Thank you. So, guys, we're coming up, unfortunately, for an end to this conference. Is there any other thing that you would like to add before we go and before we see you very soon here in Mexico City?
Just that we can't wait, and we're very excited. And we're
Yeah.
excited to see all the other bands. It's a great bill, and we wish it wasn't going to be the last one. Maybe they'll change their mind
Yeah.
and there'll be more. But if not, like she just said, we'll try to come back in another through another venue. But for now, we just concentrate on having a great Waldo Fest. It should be great.
Agreed.
Thank you so much for your time today and for answering all the questions. We are really looking forward to see you and the rest of the bands in the Wild Fest. It's gonna be pretty wild, actually. So I hope you have a safe trip next August, and we will see you soon. Thank you, all my colleagues from the media outlets. Thank you for being here today. Gracias a todos por estar aquí. That's it. Have a good one. Thank you, guys.
Gracias.
Thank you. Gracias.
Gracias, Adri.
Thank you,
Gracias. Bye.
guys.